So Max, you're the first person to win the Skool Games twice.
No, it's a lot of fun. I'm happy to come twice. Like I would like, I can come multiple times.
So that's kind of what we really were interested in finding out. Here with Wiktor today, by the way, legend at Skool. He's going to dive in and get some good technical questions as well. But we really want to know, what were your experiences like between the first games and the second games?
I was very it was overload, like trying to all of the impressions and everything. And the first games, I was basically just sitting there trying to soak in everything. And this time around, I had a lot of questions and I had some more experience. And yeah, I just enjoyed this second time around a lot more, actually. I found a lot more value coming back this time.
When I came to the first one with you, I was like kind of intimidated. I don't know, like, you know what I mean? It was like, I was nervous and I was like, 100%. I felt like I couldn't really chill. Did you feel like that?
Yeah, it's those guides. They're like so in detail. It's like intimidate you.
It's like a big thing. You know, I've been following Sam since forever. And then you finally meet Sam and then Alex and then all of the other people. And then like Hamza is there and all of these guys that you've seen online. And like, oh, well.
And they're real.
Yeah. And then you just realize that everybody's just people at the end of the day and like human beings. So yeah.
And what are some of like the most actionable things you've learned from like the first one, and that's like you implemented or something you keep in mind?
Yeah, like the first games, Alex told us about onboarding calls.
Oh, okay.
That was a huge thing.
And how did that, pushed you forward?
Yeah, I was like, all right, onboarding calls. I didn't really know how to do that. And then when I got back, Dan, who is now on my team, he was starting to talk about that as well. I don't know, like onboarding. And then we tested it out, and then we doubled our sales from that, from 35 a week to 75 sales per week by doing that strategy. Yeah. So that was a massive.
And why do you think that had such a big impact? Like, it's just, talking with Perzon. So
yeah, like I think a lot of people want to. They want to understand it a bit more, or like talk with somebody and have like an experience when they buy in and like meet somebody else and ask questions. I really think that is it. And it also leads with value, right? We position it as a free onboarding call, free school onboarding call. So it's like just value, and then we show them what's inside of the premium, and then people bought in.
Something that Alex has been talking about a lot recently is to do the unscalable.
Yeah.
And the first time that I kind of heard the idea of an onboarding call, especially for someone like you who's got like 55,000 people in a free community, I was like, that's like a lot of effort. You have to pay a lot of people. It's like, is the value really going to be there for you as a business owner? And you just proved that it's like 100% worth it.
Yeah, like I see it as a email list on like steroids to have a free group. And I started to see some other creators who had 50,000 people in the free communities, and they were shutting it down. I saw some people that did that, and I was like, why? Like, I didn't understand it. And now when we like proved that you can actually use it as a marketing mechanism for your paid, I think that is a huge mistake to shut something like that down. I think it's like one of the most powerful assets that you can have. It's like a free school community.
That's really interesting. And especially like those onboarding calls, like there are very few things that you can do that like doubles your business, right? And especially if you're not making like, you have your first client and then you get a second client and then you double the business. It's like when you're already at 45 and you're going to like double that's like a real thing. So can you like walk through what do you do on those calls, just like for people if they're curious?
100%. And I haven't taken one of those calls. Like the credits really go to these guys who are out there right now, the sales guys. They've done literally all of that. But yeah, the setup of the onboarding calls are very simple. We first of all, we position it as a value call, right? So that could be like a free school onboarding call, or like a free strategy session, or however people want to, like Faroon, for example, he could have like, who's helping foreigners to get a job in the UK. It could be like a free CV review call. It's just value. You get a free group, a free course, and then we even have a free value call that you can join. And then we basically they show up on the call, do simple sales. We understand where they're at, do some spin questions, some situation and problem and implementation or situation and problem mainly. And then we talk about either the free group or free course is a great fit for them, But if you want to get there faster and easier with more help and support, we also have this thing. We also have the paid community with even more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then we just show them that. And then we answer questions. And then we get them to buy or they don't. So it's a very simple setup.
It was crazy. One of the things Hormozy said yesterday is that in the traditional business environment, so forget about school, forget about YouTube, forget about digital. Like, let's say you're like a plumber or a painter, and you get a lead.
Yeah,
you want to work that lead like crazy. Like, you go out of your way. Like, you put ads in the newspaper, or you buy a list of people, and like one lead is so precious to you. But then somehow, like, there's like almost a mentality on the Skool platform where it's like, oh, it's just like one person in a freed group. And they don't actually really realize, like, bro, this is a lead that you can work. And that's what you guys have tapped into.
Yeah. And I'm coming from the agency world. I've been helping residential roofing contractors in the US and solar companies with like leads. That's where I'm coming from. It's just generate leads and sell stuff. And when I understand that. And like now when we get them into like a community, it's not only a contact in a CRM anymore with a name, email, and phone number. You're having a person in there who can interact with other people.
Yeah.
They can go through value in classrooms. You can have a calendar. There's a community aspect to it. And you can work that list in so many different ways. And we're only really working that list right now in one of the 4 ways that Alex talked about.
Okay.
Yeah. And
which is onboarding call.
Yeah, the onboarding calls was the first one, right?
Okay. And what's next?
So what he talked about more was doing like events in the community, right?
You can do like the weekly webinar.
Yeah, like a weekly webinar. He also talked about the DM strategy, right?
Okay, yeah.
And Jennifer was her name, right? Who won this month.
That's right. Jennifer Kizzy, yeah.
Who made like 50, 55K and all her sales in the DMs. Like, and Faroon also did huge numbers with the DMs, right? The DM strategy, I think that's going to be like, it's even bigger than the onboarding strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also stack on each other. So it's like you do this and then they get them in the DMs and then you get them on another call and stuff like that. So they like help each other in a way.
100%. So that is what we're working on right now with Dylan and Miles and Dan. Like if they have a no-show on a call, for example, we can fill their inbox inbound with DMs that they can close. So that's a strategy.
That's really smart.
Yeah. They can do calls, and if they have a no-show something, just directly into the DMs. And it's all inbound. Like this is the crazy part. We're not doing any outbound to fill those guys' calendars. We fill their calendars all with inbound by using a free Skool community. We make posts and we just fill the calendars. When Miles started working, I was like, hey Miles, do you want to test this out? He was like, yeah. So within 24 hours, I found a guy who knew sales, who knew knew the product. I hadn't had to teach him anything about what we were doing. He already knew everything because he had been going through all my stuff, and he knew sales. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I fixed him a calendar. We filled this calendar, and he was making sales within 24 hours.
Nice.
Damn. Where did you find him?
He's been through my free course, like Dylan and Miles and all of these guys have been through my community. I found them in there. So like I didn't have to onboard or train or anything. They already knew. That's the real power of like Skool and communities, like hiring. That Alex and Sam has been talking about.
Yeah, because that's the big physical noticeable change is when you came to the first games, it was just you.
Yeah.
And it was you and me sitting there, oh, Alex Hormozy's coming.
Yeah.
And then the second time, it's like you rock up with a squad.
Yeah.
So at what level for you did you realize you're like, oh, now is the right time to start hiring people? Because a lot of Skool community owners that we talk to, they're kind of just on the edge. Yeah. Where like, I'm doing it by myself, I'm making good money, but I think I need help. And I'm not sure how to get the help. So how did you know it was time? And then how did you actually get people?
Yeah, like you were a part of a big part of that decision process. You were like, Max, now that's your mission now. We're gonna find your like community manager. Because I had like a VA that was kind of helping me. And Sam also told me like, you can't have a VA. You need to find somebody else. And then just quickly. So Dylan was basically he was just helping me for free, just organically. And I was like, oh, maybe then of course Dylan is there. That's probably like a good candidate. And then
so we're doing it for free.
Exactly.
You want to go pro?
Exactly.
I mean, that's a good tip for someone who wants to become a community manager. You can flip that on its head, but I'll just put that as an aside.
Yes, lead with value, right?
Yeah.
It's massive opportunity. But then to answer your question, like when it's time to do it, yeah, like I've never hired people in that way or like been having a team. That's like my first time. I've been having contractors and like that I never really talk about with, or like media buyers with agents and stuff. But this is the first time we're like trying to build a culture and meet up and have a team. But yeah, like it's hard. Like when it starts to become painful and you do everything and you want to scale and maybe you want to start doing onboarding calls and like you can't do all of the onboarding calls, or like, yeah, when it's, as they say, when it becomes painful, like that's, try to look for some other people and you find them in the communities. That's really where you find them.
And what made you like decide which role to like outsource, hand off first? And how did you go about this process of defining the role? Yeah,
like I love to like design the thing that we're gonna do and like think about that, and like build some type of a system of it, like what we're actually going to do. But I'm a pretty bad like operator, or like, you know, to like do the thing consistently. I might do it for a while and then might drop off because I want to do this other thing, and then so I needed somebody who could like, okay, this works, now let's just do that. And also like managing the community we had some refunds and invites and talking with people and support stuff, and I was like dreading that part. And Dylan has been like he loves that stuff. He has like a structure, he could do it every single day. So that was like my first hire, having somebody who can just help me to like do the admin stuff in the community. I think that is very big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So you were just like, what do I don't like?
Yeah.
Right? And I already have this guy who really likes it.
Yeah.
So let's connect those two dots.
Yeah. And he was even offering it for free. So I was like, okay, and he's doing it really well.
Dude, it was a killer
He
offer.
needs to really like it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the big unlock for a lot of like school community owners and entrepreneurs, is whenever you realize that there are people exist that love the things that you hate.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like, especially from, I don't know if it's a European thing, but it's like, maybe we feel weird about delegating. Maybe we feel kind of weird about like getting other people to do things. Like, oh, I feel bad if like I don't enjoy this thing. But there's people out there who like love it.
Yeah.
And there's a thing, I don't know if you heard it before, it's called the teamwork triad. And it's like, there's one person and they love to make it up. And then there's another person who loves to make it happen. And then there's a third person who loves to make it recur.
Yeah.
And like, you're the make it up, as most entrepreneurs and most creators are.
Yeah.
And if you can connect those next two pieces, you just have this like infinite cycle. It's crazy.
Yeah. There is like a personality test in like the in the workplace test that you can take, and they have like 4 different results. You have like the visionary or the creator, I think they call it. Like that's the guy who just like brainstorms the ideas. Then you have more so like the analytical person who takes those crazy ideas and like refines them. Or I think them calling them refiners, and analytical person who refines the plans.
Yeah.
Then there's the third person who takes those like analytical, still abstract ideas and create like a real plan to it, like in black and white, like, okay, here's how we're going to do this. And then the fourth one is just like the implementer, the action taker, they just love to get like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And then you just do that.
Yeah, those are like the, also like those 4 energies in business, right? And you need all of them in your team to really like function well. That's why it's like, well, and also each person is like primarily good at this one thing. For example, like salespeople, like you want to hire great individual contributors, like people who are just like, okay, 12 calls today, let's go. And they just 100%. Like burn through it. They not like, you know, let me come up with an idea for a video. And those are different people, and they really enjoy different things, which is really awesome. Which brings me to like for you, so you have a person who's doing ops. So, and how did you like, you know, you're a king of onboarding now. How did you like onboard them? How did you get them to like onboard into the culture, how you do things? Yeah, like it all happened very organically. And they already knew me and the product and everything because they had been going through it. So like, honestly, they weren't really like an
onboarding. Like they already knew that they wanted to do this. They knew the product and they knew me, and they just wanted to like get started with
the
it.
onboarding was the 20 hours of content that they consumed.
Exactly. The onboarding was exactly that was that. So when we just started working together, we agreed on how it would work, and then we just like, okay, let's do it. I didn't even have to train them on what to do. It was like they already knew.
Yeah,
It's kind of insane, actually.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But that's the power of like almost growing your own talent.
Yeah.
And then recruiting from within the community.
Yeah. But then like now, and also now when we meet up, because I talked with Nick, like the chief of staff, I guess is at Skool, right?
What a G.
Yeah. And he talked about, that's why I decided to, when I got the idea to bring all of us now to Vegas to meet in person, because he said that culture is basically, it's just a group of people who become friends and who spend some time together and get to know each other. I was like, that makes sense. So people, if you want to build a culture in your team, it's just like meet in real person and like get to know each other. And that's basically it. So that's what we did. And we had so many ideas by just sitting down and like
for sure
talking.
But it's interesting because like there is a cost to that, okay? So you're sitting in Sweden and I don't know, you got like a pen and paper out or a spreadsheet and you like figure out like how much it would actually cost. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, were you hesitant to make that call? And what would you say the return on investment has been so far to bring that remote team in person?
Like I've spent, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars into courses and coaching and consulting and all of this stuff and like masterminds. And I never went to Sam's masterminds. I kind of regret that. But I was still too early in my journey to kind of fit in there, honestly.
It's okay. You've been to 2 Skool Games. It's the next level.
Exactly. But I've been through a lot of that stuff and spent a lot of money, and like spending this money to get here and then sitting down every single night and we're just like sitting in a circle essentially and we just talk has been the highest ROI money ever spent. Like we have so many plans that we can implement. And then we invited also like Faroon to that as well. He was like, we did a podcast with him, and just the value exchange and the ideas that spark when you just meet in person is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Absolutely. And if, for example, like Y Combinator, like Sam Altman and stuff, they really don't like remote teams. They don't really like investing in them. They all their teams were like, it needs to be in person. And when they start to invest, they like tell them that. And it's not really common in the remote world. So yeah, I highly recommend as well.
Yeah.
It's really.
But we also love
people
it.
are different.
Like I love coming
like, in person
and seeing like you guys every single month.
Yeah,
like it makes me feel more connected to the team as well. Do you know what I mean? Inside Skool.
100%. Yeah.
So like tactically, like for the community owner who's listening, they're like, okay, Max has sold me. I know that there's people inside my community. I already have them in my head.
Yeah.
Like, what is the deal, or what is a one potential structure of a contract, or like how do you actually engage somebody, and what do you think is a low risk way to start, all that sort of stuff?
Jeff Bezos had like a quote, right? Like that I heard a long time ago that really stuck with me. And he said that like the only way to get people to work as if they are the owner of the company is to actually make them an owner of the company, right? So that they have like some skin in the game, that the harder they work, the more you can actually earn. I love that. And it just from an entrepreneurial perspective, it just makes sense to me. And obviously I don't have unlimited resources, but I have enough so that I can like, we have different ones. Like, for example, we have like a base pay, but they also have room to like earn commission on the sales that they're making. So that's basically the structure that we have. And we're selling a recurring, like a subscription product, right? So they're basically building out their own subscription business with my product. And so we're like a team trying to grow this thing together, and we all have skin in the game with it.
So they get MRR, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Bro, that's the affiliate next level teammate strategy.
Yeah.
I learned that from a course, and they call it like account managers, right? Which is also very powerful.
Yeah.
Because you not only incentivize the salesperson to make the initial sale, but you incentivize the salesperson to also keep them in the right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also potentially ascend them and create like their own book of business, like in the old businesses say.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's like a pretty much it sounds like it's like a client success merges with a salesperson.
Exactly. And that's why we call them a school, like a specialist, because they're not only like a setter or like a closer or like a success manager, like more like of a specialist.
I wrote that down yesterday. You know the way growth operator has become a term?
Yeah.
I was like, Max, Perzon, and the team have coined the phrase Skool Specialist because you all said it. It was 4 of you in a row. It's like, hi, I'm Dylan and I'm Skool Specialist. And I was like, oh, yeah.
And this, like, all of this has come from a guy called Lucas Raymond and also Dan. They are the ones who brought that to me. I'm not I coined this or anything. They are the ones who brought it to me. But I think it's a great word, like a specialist. Like we actually came up with that word when we sat and like, yeah, this should be something else. And this guy Lucas was a big part of that.
It's very interesting as well because if I already look at your team and I think like, 1, 2, 3, whatever period of time down the line, you look at Dylan and like Dylan could become like underneath the business, he could start his own thing for community managers. You know what I mean? And he could become like one of the world's greatest community managers in the world and then teach other community managers. Like the Skool Specialist 100%. Model, it's just going to get like massive.
Yeah. And there's examples of that, right? Like Cole Gordon, for example, who runs they're making, I don't know, 4 million a month or whatever it is.
Yep.
And he was like a sales guy for traffic and funnels, right?
Yep.
Or traffic and conversion or what they're
traffic
called.
and funnels, yeah.
And so, Skool is just, who knows what, like it's going to become so many opportunities with Skool, like the coming year is going to be.
For sure.
Massive.
So back to yesterday, the mastermind with Sam and Hermosi.
Yeah.
Like what did you feel really jumped out at you this time?
Retention.
Right.
Retention.
We only talked about it for 4.5 hours. So,
but it fit perfectly because when I met the team, like I was just like, it's like they almost joke about it. Like out of the blue, I could be just like churn. I could just like say the word churn or retention because I was thinking about it, and then they started thinking about it. So it was perfect. Like that has been the main thing because it's a big problem. Like it's a big thing we need to solve, rather. Not only focusing on the initial sale, but like we're building a subscription business and not only making that first sale. Like how do we build the recurring part of it as well?
Yeah. And what were some of the strategies you have in store?
Like, so we have a lot of plans that I have very high hopes for. And I don't see a lot of people talk about it.
Okay.
But I know that like licensing, for example, is a huge thing, right? And all of these things that we talked about yesterday, like how can we actually just use Skool? I think that's amazing. Just like you guys and the Skool team just implementing things into the software. We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
On how to reduce it, but then also outside and like building levels and like all of these things that we can do with Skool. That's amazing. I think that's going to reduce churn a lot. But what can we as a creator do as well?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's enough or it could be enough, but if I join Matthew's community and I pay $100 for that per month, for example, and I get the training, I can kind of skim through the training. I'm like, okay, I kind of know now how to build a podcast, let's say. Then if there's levels that I can get more stuff, that might actually help it. But I also kind of feel that I've received the thing that I want, the value there. So it's like every single month when I'm going to rebuild, it's like, I don't know. Like, okay, I kind of felt like I get the juice out of the content. But if we can license something, like if Matthew could give me something else that I only have as long as I'm a customer.
Yep.
Evelyn Weiss is doing this, right, with her business as well. I think that is a huge part. So like
some collateral or some form of like the reusable asset, you're saying?
Exactly. Like if I can pay for the information and I get the information, but I also get something else that I start to incorporate into my business.
Yeah.
That I'm like, oh, this is okay. I kind of have the information. I can continue to pay to kind of get some more information, but I also get this thing that I can use every single day in my business.
If I give you like the operating system for a podcast and a Notion dashboard and like discount on the software's rolled into the price, and if you add like we continue to keep your Zapier automations up to date, then you're never going to cancel.
Editing templates and like all of these things that you need when you edit it and post it and like all of that stuff that you need that I start to incorporate into my business. Then it's harder to stop paying. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so it sounds like you guys are dividing it between like one-time consumables in like reoccurring consumables, right? Like something you just it's either a service on that other side, or like you do the service once and then you distribute either like findings or results or something. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. And like, so pretty much focusing on that other side. What's on the roadmap?
Yeah, like you said, service, right? I think software as a service, if you can incorporate some type of software that people use, I think that's huge. And maybe that's not applicable to anybody and everybody who starts a Skool community.
Yeah.
But if you can, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
But also like Evelyn Weiss, right? She basically has, she white labels digital assets that you can white label those assets and then resell them. I think that's massive as well.
Yeah.
So like, it would take some creativity and thinking, but software I think is huge.
Yeah, because it's one thing to sell someone, and it's another thing to activate them.
Yeah,
and I think you're the GOAT of activating people onto Skool. Honestly, like I don't know anyone else on the platform who does it better than you guys. And the challenge and the opportunity is like, okay, how do you take people on like a longer journey?
Yeah.
Like month on month, like that is a really interesting thing to crack. And I think you guys will crack it. So I can't wait to see how you do.
Yeah, we have the plans. Like our plan is to, I can share it here. If like we basically want to give away High Level, which is a backend system, which costs like $100 to $500 per month. We want to give that for free to all of our users. That join MaxPremium. So that is going to be our like go on giving value like continuously with software, and then also licensing some other like digital assets. Because I use High Level as a backend system for daily emails, and like we do our onboarding strategy with the calendar and all of these things. Like we need High Level for that, or like some type of software for that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What experiments have you run in your community since the February games? Because that's another thing I like about your team is you're always trying new things. You're quick to implement, and then you're also quick to get rid of things when they don't work. So what have been some of your experiments?
All right, that didn't really work out, or that did work.
Yeah. Don't be so European. It doesn't just have to be negative. It's sunny in Sweden right now, bro. It's not winter.
Like no, we have tested. We tested this Metaverse, for example, with a tool called Gather, which is really, really cool. And there's a guy on Skool called Kevin Wong, who's a genius, and he has an amazing team. They're super, super cool. And he helped us with that. And so we tested that out to do some events, and that was using like the Metaverse for events is amazing. But then we also noticed that we're kind of taking people off Skool to something else. So like having people on Skool and optimizing your business for keeping people on Skool is like the big takeaway. And then doing the Q&A calls maybe on like a solution like Zoom or something like that. Yeah. But that was a test, and it was really fun. That was one of the bigger ones.
Yeah. So Skool actually is the Metaverse in a way. Right, where it's like Nav, who you maybe met yesterday.
Yeah.
She said something beautiful on a podcast we did together a few months ago. She said every Skool community is like its own planet.
Yeah.
And I love that, because my experience of even going into MaxPremium, you know, it's like, oh, now I'm in like the MaxPremium multiverse. And it's like, oh, and here's the calls, and here's the courses, and here's the community. And then I jump into, you know, Kirby's community. And it's like, now I'm on the Kirby planet. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting. Some of the things, I don't know if we can talk about it publicly, but some of the things that they were talking about adding to the platform going forward, I think will only increase that feeling of like you can just hang out on this planet, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And like Nav and Goose and those guys, they're really good at like fixing the engagement or like the interaction part of Skool. And my brain is not thinking about that at all. I'm also trying to think like the more, I don't know, tactical thing, like what can we give?
Yeah.
But I think like mixing that with the community, I think is huge.
I would say it's like logical part, and they're like really good, like this emotional like
community spirit.
Community spirit. Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah. That's arguably even more important. A lot more important.
Yeah. I remember a while back with one of our experiments, we were like thinking how we can decrease churn, and in one of the communities, right? And one of the things that increased it like the most was just giving like a recognition to members and just like making them feel important, like really elevating them. And that's not really like logical. Like they like nobody, like they're not making money from it. They're not making like anything. All it is just like feeling of significance, which is one of the needs.
Yeah, one of the big trends that we've seen kind of month on month with the games is that it's becoming, and it was really the Goose month that really like brought this to the front. One of the most powerful things you can do for your community, it sounds so silly, is like just help them become friends.
Yeah.
Because as you say, once you've kind of consumed the content, or you've got like, you know, the high level of, okay, this is the concept, this is the way they think about things. But if you have like really close friends, it's like, that's the journey. It's like Lord of the Rings, which I always talk about. You always make fun of me. It's like, they're the hobbits that like go on the journey with you. Like no one wants to like go to Mordor by themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And okay, and Max is Gandalf, and like Dylan's Legolas and all this sort of stuff. But you need that like band of hobbits, the fellow travelers, to go with you. So yeah, is there anything you've seen that helps that like cross-pollination of users to become like friends and like go on a journey together?
I would say calls are probably the best. That's how I made most of my like online friends. That's how we became friends.
Yeah.
We're just like, if they're like, we start to chat, and then we're just like, okay, we want to talk about it, and then just send a Zoom link. That's also that's how I met my best friend, and that's how I've met Kirby. Which is like, text is good, but like there is a reason why we have calendar.
Yeah.
So I would say like it's like as close to hanging out as possible. And then second, it's like meeting, but in person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can say for yourself today, right?
Yeah, and like I have never met Goose or Faroon or none of these guys, or like Patricia or none of these people. And then when I did met them in person, it felt like I already knew them.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
And when I met these guys as well, like Dylan and Miles and Dan, like we'd never met in real life. And when we met, it was not a big deal because we've been on so many calls and I've seen them in the community. So that was kind of...
But this is why I think Skool is very good at accelerating the intimacy building experience, because there's like a concept, I can't remember the exact numbers, it's called like the 3-5-7 rule or something. And it's like they did research that into like human brains. It's like, why do people develop strong bonds with each other? Like, what are the actual ingredients? And they like distilled it, and it sounds like very formulaic, but it actually, I think is really true. And it's like, if you see somebody in like 5 different locations, if you do like 3 different experiences with them, and if you spend 7 hours, then that is literally the recipe for a powerful bond. And what's interesting about Skool is, okay, it's not like 5 different locations, but it's like you talk in the DMs, you see in the community posts, you get on a live call, you see Max on Instagram, you see Max in the course, and then you meet Max in person. Yeah. So it's like multi-layered, and we do this as Skool community owners. That's why, like, because you've seen Goose maybe on a podcast, you interviewed him on your podcast, you saw him on a call, you see him in the community. So you actually are like getting all these reps and all this variety in. So then whenever you add that physical location thing, it's like, boom, now like we're closed. Do you know what I mean? It's like intimate relationship achieved.
Yeah, 100%.
And especially with like the school, right? And like based on like the experience you have with like meeting in different places, you can actually achieve it like very easily. All you need to do is kind of engineer it, right? With the post, with the classroom, and also what like to really like share parts of like your maybe private life to really make that bond.
Yeah, personal branding is huge. I don't really do that. If you look at like some of the biggest names in the industry, right? It's personal branding. It's like sharing what they do, not only values in like, I like to just do like tutorials and like sit in front of a computer and just do that, but people want to know you, right? So if you can share like more, that's what podcasts is really cool as well, because you get to see people in a different environment, like interacting with other people as well. But yeah, it's powerful. Yeah, and I haven't really implemented any of these strategies that we talked about yesterday as well, about like the different levels. And shout out to Calvin Hollywood as well. We talked about him yesterday.
He's a beast.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff we can do on Skool.
So kind of starting to land the plane, how would you say that your life has changed between the first games and the second games? Like, how's your mindset changed? How's you changed as a person?
Yeah, in a way it has changed, but I said it last time and I say it again, like people are coming, right? It's like people are after you in a way. Like, and I feel like that for everybody who runs a Skool community, that, yeah, we're super early into this, but like we haven't, like this platform hasn't even started yet. There's going to be a lot of people who come onto the platform. So I just feel an even bigger urgency to just like go all in on this and work super hard, and just like figuring out like the retention is huge, and like how can we get more traffic? How can we convert more people? How can we retain people longer? How can we provide more value? And just how can we just, work harder, I guess. And like, but like, I guess I've gone from like a solo guy who just trying to see if is this really working. And now I know that it's working really, really well. And like, how can we just scale this thing now and have a lot of fun with it? Yeah.
Something that you're really good at is like, and this was a big takeaway from your first Skool Games, if I remember right, was finding the thing that works and then just like doubling down on it.
Yeah, like at least I'm trying to learn how to double down on it, right? But like when we were in the room yesterday, and when you see like Alex, for example, like you again, like we talked about that on the previous podcast as well. Like you feel like a child, like you're like in his eyes, we're just like, have you like, are you even started yet? You're just like learning kind of how to walk in a way. And he's like a marathon runner, just running every day, like for miles, right? So it's, I think that's important as well. Just trying to like understand that you don't really know anything, and you can always just learn more, and then just, the day you think that you're like, oh, I'm the best, like I already know, that's when you lose, because that's when somebody else just comes behind you and just snatches it from you. Or like,
But I think the final thing that's really cool is that some of your students are now like winning the games.
Yeah. And I don't want to take, like they've been going through some of my stuff, right? But I haven't coached these people individually. They've been going through and getting some nuggets here and there, right? But we've had, I think, how many games have it been on? Like 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've had like 6 people that have been members. We had 2 people that won now in June.
Oh wow! So you're coming again as a referral winner?
No, I don't know. I don't know if they used my link, but there's been a lot of people going through MaxPremium. We're not the only reason behind that by any means at all. But it's cool that they've been through and getting some nuggets from it at least. Yeah. So
that's awesome. You're like a internal like coach of Skool, like outside of Alex, right? You distill the best things. You're on your own tests, and that's like. Yeah. You actually do it. You actually do everything, and like what works, and you pass it over with your Skool Specialist team.
They are really the guys who I start to understand how powerful that is with the team. It's just insane. Yeah.
So you gave a lot of game today for community owners that are quite big. If you think about your students, like kind of like final question for the person who's listening to this. And even they're inside MaxPremium. Yeah. Like, what are the traits and the characteristics that make your students succeed? Yeah. Like, what advice would you give to someone who's like super hungry and they actually really want it and they're prepared to do the things? What are the things that you would encourage them to do?
I have one thing that I've started to observe. I see this with content. I see this with people with their Skool communities and people just in general who succeed very fast. They do this thing. And the people who struggle, they don't do this thing. And that is a very simple concept. And that is basically you just copy what works. Don't reinvent the wheel. Like I've been going through that multiple times myself. We want to like build our own thing and figure out that like this niche or this offer and this thing. like Gracie, for example, dating with Gracie, she's gonna, I predict that now, she's gonna win the Skool Games. She's gonna crush it. She's gonna be here in a couple of months. You're gonna meet Gracie.
Can't wait to interview her.
Yeah. She went from 0 to over 200,000 something followers on Instagram in 4 months.
Oh, wow.
How do you do that? Well, you identify what other people are doing and you copy what works, but in your own way. Faroon, for example, he was in debt 6 months ago or whatever. How did he went from 0 to like 60 grand per month or whatever he's doing now? You just like find a business model or organic content strategy and you copy what works.
And that's, I couldn't agree more. Building on that, like how do you find like a balance between just like copying what works and also like if you're copying what works from few people, like how do you just follow one person and like until you beat them, or you like bring the best things from each person? What's your approach?
Like, for example, if you want to find a business model, right? If I start out from scratch and if I got this advice, I would just go online and try to find somebody who's having a business model. I'm like, oh, I would really want to do that thing.
Okay.
They're like crushing it. I love what they're doing. And then I would join their stuff if I could. And then I would just basically copy their proof of concept. Because if they're making sales and if they have a product and if they have a messaging and a way to convert people, like it works, right? It works really well. So you can take inspiration from multiple people then obviously and make it even better. Like maybe follow one for your content strategy and then another one for the like business strategy type of thing. But I see that can be a trap as well when you listen to too many people. Because, right? Yeah. Because if you listen to this person have a concept that is working really well, and then this person does something completely different that works really, really well. And then you're like influenced, you don't know what to do, and then you get overwhelmed. So I think it's very important as well to take inspiration and then build your own plan and sell yourself on your own plan so that you can take inspiration and then take pieces of it to add to your own plan. But copying what works, and like at the end of the day, that's really like just it's a huge recipe to like succeed. I feel like
and also like you've mentioned before that you spend like a lot of money on coaches, consulting, courses, and what's like your learning from those people? Do you just like check out their content and then you pay them, or like how do you first make sure they're like legit? Make sure you want to actually follow their protocol, and then third, how you like actually get the learnings to implement it.
In the beginning, I think it's great to invest in learnings all the time, but in the beginning you learn a lot because like I have no idea about anything, and then you just get like massive like information about how to build stuff, the tech stuff, right, and the strategies.
Takes you from like 1 to 8.
Exactly. But over time you're like, I've kind of heard this before, and it's like, okay, you spend 20 grand on something, and you learn like one thing, and that might help you or whatever. But it's like, like right. But eventually, so like. But eventually what I've noticed happens is that if you just rub shoulders with people, like if you just be close to people that know a lot more than you, even if they don't tell you specific tactics, if you're just close to them or like are in the Zoom call with them or just spend some time with them, it kind of rubs off in a way. It's weird. It's like your mind 100%. Starts to like think like them in a way.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
100%. Yeah. It's like, I really like when you said like, you like absorb like some like their energy and how they think. And that's like just like if you listen to a lot to like how like Alex is or something, you start to like think a little bit more like him. Right?
You learn by osmosis. You learn by like observing them and see what they're doing. And so subconsciously you're taking decisions from like, what would they do in a way, or like
even like subconsciously.
Big time. Dude, appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise.
I think that's the third time you've been on the show. The journey's crazy. If you look at like even just like the 6-month window, it's mad. It's like 6 months since the Skool Games started. And as you always say, this is like your catchphrase. It's like, we're just so early. Big time. Victor, Beast from the East, appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Man. There'll be a link for MaxPremium in the description wherever you're listening to this. And I know Max and the team would look forward to seeing you inside there. Thanks again, dudes.
Thank you, guys.
It's good. Thanks, Scott, for producing. Appreciate you.